a senile old man seeking a return to the presidency of the United States of America has just announced that he plans to make the great state of New York in play for the presidential election. And New York is solidly blue. Mm-hmm. Most polls show Kamala Harris up by 12 to 20 points, depending on what you look at. It's not even a possibility that Donald Trump could win his own state because they cannot stand him.
Here's the deal. They've known he's a grifter and full of shit from the jump.
Right.
I mean, they are not the people that are going to vote for him.
So I started thinking, why on earth would he go to Madison Square Garden? Because there's that video after he won that we've all seen, the viral video where everybody's standing outside of Trump Tower saying, New York hates you, New York hates you. And New York is just, I mean, it is as liberal and as free and as diversity embracing of an American city that you can get, of any city that you can get. So I started researching it. Like, why would he do this? This seems dangerous. It seems like a complete shit show, etc. Well, it turns out 85 years ago, the Nazi Party had a America First rally at Madison Square Garden. And I actually found some footage of it. Play the clip.
They wore Hitler's uniforms, but they wrapped themselves in the American flag. They preached the doctrine of racial and class hatred. For Hitler had said America could be conquered from within and fall as an overripe plum to the Nazi master race.
A lot of dictators in the past predicted that America would fall from within. And that's what Vladimir Putin has been banking on. But there has been so many eerie similarities with the MAGA movement and Nazi Germany. And if you look at how Hitler started, he was mentally unstable. Right. Much like Trump, malignant narcissist, abused as a child. We all know Trump has all of these same levels of brokenness. And they're so insecure, they seek to bully others and to have power. So Hitler picked the Jewish race to be the enemy, and he started a lot of propaganda so that everybody would be terrified of Jewish people, everybody would be scared of Jewish people, and he demonized them and dehumanized them. Trump, right when he descended on the escalator, it is these immigrants, they're rapists, et cetera, et cetera. So now you have a portion of the American public that is terrified of immigrants. And you see this propaganda start to take hold. And I always wondered when I studied World War II, how could the Germans go along with this? How did decent people go along with this? Now I know, because I'm living in a time in the United States of America where I see people and they find permission structures to vote for Trump. People that know better because they like the cruelty. They like the white supremacy. They don't like people that have pigment in their skin, and it is that simple. And they will try to go, oh my God, I'm not a racist, and do all of this freak out. If you are not a racist, then you would be actively an anti-racist. And when you hear a political leader call the brave men and women who defeated Nazi Germany suckers and losers, and then when he uses language like this, play the clip.
How about allowing people to come through an open border, 13,000 of which were murderers? Many of them murdered far more than one person, and they're now happily living in the United States. You know, now a murderer, I believe this, it's in their genes, and we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now. They had 425,000 people come into our country that shouldn't be here, that are criminals.
That kind of language about genes is a play out of Hitler's playbook. It is the exact playbook. And what's so dangerous is you have a lot of people who are abundantly aware of this. The sociopathic organization, the Heritage Foundation, they know. They have studied how did Nazi Germany take hold. They liked it. You have a guy on the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas, that is funded and sponsored by Harlan Crow, who is a billionaire who, for fun, collects Nazi memorabilia.
The eerie similarities of Trump and Hitler, it really is mind-blowing. And the people that go for it, that are all in on it, it is sad. It is a referendum on how disinformed people are and how mean. I mean, these people are mean. They don't give a shit that immigrants and people of color and women, they just want to be loved. They just want to be happy. They don't want more than what we have. They just want the same, but they don't like it. They want to create an enemy out of these people. And it is straight out of Hitler's playbook. And I'm just going to say, Ivana Trump, the book she said that Trump kept on his bedside table was Mein Kampf. And we know he doesn't read. So I think that's weird.
And originally, nobody took Hitler seriously.
That's right.
They thought he was a rambling nut. And then he would give these big speeches, throw out this hateful red meat that people would start sinking their teeth in on. And that's what's happened with Trumpism over the last 9 years. Now, there's an argument to be made that organizations like the Heritage Foundation and a lot of the exclusionary policies of the Republican Party set hold, and it helped Trump pour gasoline on it and really let it explode. But right now, I just want to speak to MAGA Republicanism. But there are a lot of Americans right now who could hear this and they could see the similarities, and they will still try to find the permission structure to vote for him, because at the end of the day, they are okay with demonizing other people. They are the Germans in Germany that saw this language, that heard this language, and willfully look the other way. We are living with the people right now that don't value all human lives, while at the same time talk about how Jesus is their homeboy,
right?
And what would Jesus do bracelets. And it's terrifying, but it doesn't stop there. Trump has said in interviews that if he wins, he basically wants to have a goon squad go out and be punitive towards his political rivals. He refers to them as enemies. He uses the language enemies, but he also uses another very Nazi phrase. Play the clip.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within.
Any American that has heard that clip and has studied World War II that can go out and vote for him because they like his quote unquote policies, you are the Germans that acquiesced during Nazi Germany when they rounded up and concentrated an entire race of people and committed genocide. That is what is going on here. I cannot believe that that clip is not played 24/7, 365 on a loop. This is incredibly dangerous. He is telling us exactly what he wants to do, and he is funded by billionaires that want this. And then you have Americans that are educated enough to hear that and realize that what he's saying, we would be considered radical leftists, that we're vermin. So it doesn't just stop with immigrants. Then it also goes to anybody who thinks differently than he does. So listen up, America. You can't say you're for freedom and vote for that. That is the antithesis of freedom.
Well, and he's also talking, so far, just this election cycle, he wants to take down CBS News. He wants to take down ABC News. He wants to take down NBC News. I mean, he wants to turn everything in to a Fox News channel. He doesn't want any opposition. Well, you know who else doesn't want that? Dictators. And what I think, you made a point about people watching that. Most people, or let me just say, a majority of people, particularly that we know, they hear Trump talk like that and they are viscerally offended and horrified. There is a portion of Americans that are viscerally excited.
Exactly.
They like it.
Exactly.
And that is what is so scary about Donald Trump. He is a symptom of a much, much bigger problem.
So listen, if you have a daughter, if you have a child that is a quote unquote radical leftist or a Democrat, you have a gay kid, you have a black or brown grandkid, a black or brown child, they're coming for you. Yeah. I mean, they said they were coming for Roe, and they did it. They did it. He is telling you exactly what he wants to do. And he's going to start with all of his, what he refers to as political enemies. So anybody who was in his administration, he already said he wants to hang Mike Pence.
Right.
I mean, he's already down with all of that. And we just all kind of like, we've all just kind of moved right past it. But if you think that this man cares about you, the general American public, you have to worship him. And then he will care about you. But the minute you misstep, you're immediately thrown under the bus. But I want to leave you, because I know this is like daunting and depressing, but it is so important that that clip where he just said what his intentions are be played over and over and over again until the election. But here is a response that is appropriate to that. Here's Barack Obama.
I want to ask Republicans out there, when did that become okay? Why would we go along with that? I mean, if your coworkers acted like that, they wouldn't be your coworkers very long. If you're in business and somebody you're doing business with just outright lies and manipulates, you stop doing business with them. Even if you had a family member who acted like that, you might still love them, but you tell them you got a problem. And you wouldn't put them in charge of anything. And yet, when Donald Trump lies or cheats or shows utter disregard for our Constitution, when he calls POWs losers or fellow citizens vermin, people make excuses for it. They think it's okay. They think, well, at least he's owning the libs. He's really sticking it to them. It's okay as long as our side wins. And by the way, I'm sorry, gentlemen, I've noticed this especially with some men who seem to think Trump's behavior, the bullying and the putting people down, is a sign of strength. And I am here to tell you that is not what real strength is. It never has been.
That to me is such an important clip, this election cycle. And make no mistake, listener, Donald Trump picked Madison Square Garden because he is surrounded by white supremacists, anti-democratic people that are abundantly aware of exactly what happened there 85 years ago. This is conspiracy theory land, hate the immigrants. We want to consolidate power. We want to own the libs. We like the recreational cruelty. It's exciting for us. So listen up, America. A lot of people like you and me are probably Republicans. You've been Republican your whole life. You might have a liberal kid because you sent them to a university where they got enlightened and they learned how to critically think. This administration, a Trump administration, is not going to be kind to your child and does not represent freedom. If you have a gay kid and you vote for Donald Trump, you are voting against your own child. It's despicable. It's immoral. It is anti-American. And I am so sick of so many white Americans that look like you and me making an excuse for that lying sack of shit that totally traffics in Nazi-style propaganda. And so many Americans acquiesce and go along with it. You are no different, zero difference between you and the Germans who watched and listened to Hitler's rise. There is zero difference.
I completely agree.
All right, stick with us. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
It's so